What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and this one I'm going to talk about Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of tickers, break down what just happened during FOMC, then talk about the news affecting Tesla and how this could affect the share price for the future. I want to talk about all these different things in this video to try to be as quick as possible, and then talk more about Cathie Wood as she brought back some very, very bullish claims about Tesla as well. But before I say anything about Tesla and talk about all these different tickers very briefly and very quickly, let me first say that I am not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And don't forget about the Weeble link. The offer ends very soon. If you deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends in 7 days. Check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market and Tesla and also what happened with the Fed. So for today, Tesla got a little pop in the morning. I was talking about that yesterday, how Tesla could get a little pop. I was anticipating it to be a little early on before kind of like shopping approaching the FOMC event. But instead, Tesla actually pumped approaching it, and then it started to sell off very hard after Jerome Powell started giving his speech and after all this data came out. So, what data came out, just to be as blunt as possible, we had the FOMC release come out for the economic projections. And at the same time, they told us that they did not raise any rates for this month, but they may end up having to do it in the future. The Fed is projecting that they're going to be raising rates one more time, and they may have to keep rates higher for a little bit longer than expected. This caused the market to get a bit of a rug pull, and the market was not expecting that. On top of that, Jerome Powell mentioned that inflation is still starting to show signs of upticking, and that was not at all what the Fed wanted, and this led to more selling pressure in the markets. So that's very important. The Fed is likely going to raise rates again. That's why the market is starting to price in another potential rate hike either in November or also in December, or just one for just those 2 months. So it's very possible the Fed's going to raise rates again in either November or December. The market's getting prepared for that. And on top of all of this, the Fed may have to raise rates for longer than expected and take a little bit longer to start cutting because inflation is still hotter than what they wanted it to be based off their economic report right here. This is based off what they were projecting from the past. They're also talking about how the unemployment numbers are just like too strong. So all of these things are basically, incentivizing them to be more hawkish. That's why the market ended up selling off the way it did, because there could be more hikes coming in the future and inflation is still upticking. Right? We actually have inflation right here. You guys could see this. You could freeze the video right here if you just want to look at this chart, but you could see all items are upticking a bit. They are inflated thanks to energy, but core is still quite sticky, and the Fed believes there's more work to be done. Anyways, now I just want to kind of close these so I could clear this up a bit. For tomorrow, we have initial jobless claims. If it's a little bit too hot, that's what the market wants. We want it to be very close to expectations. If it's too low, this could incentivize the Fed to be hawkish, and these are the expectations: 222 to 225,000. Anyways, now let's talk about what's going on with the news affecting Tesla, because Tesla's still looking weak despite some good news that came out. But Tesla was looking strong in the morning as we got some good news, but then it started to weaken thanks to the Fed. So what was the good news for Tesla? Cathie Wood came out and she was saying some very, very important things. She mentioned that Tesla is the biggest AI opportunity in the world, and she was saying that the robo taxi is going to be a very, very bullish catalyst for the company. She thinks it's going to be a winner. She mentioned that autonomous taxi is going to be a huge market, and she said that once again, it's going to be very safe in the domain moving forward. She also said some very similar things as Elon Musk, and she's extended her price target to forecast $2,000 a share by 2027. That is 650% upside from the closing price on Tuesday. She also said that Tesla is undervalued, that the company has so much potential. She's putting lots of emphasis on autonomous technology. This is the same thing that Elon Musk said, because he said that the FSD technology is going to be huge and it's part of a bigger mechanism for the technology and the innovation to help it grow over time. And it's going to be part of a much bigger picture, because it's not just robo-taxi, that's a big factor, but also full self-driving in general, which could be used by the public if someone were to like own a Tesla or something like that. So even though they just have a beta right now, that is still being improved, this is still very bullish news for them for the long term. And once again, their market cap has so much upside potential over the next couple of years. She also mentioned that the adoption for the EV sector is going to be big for them, so that's some good news for them. I also wanted to add that Tesla and Elon Musk are under a DOJ probe over perks and transactions. So Musk said that this was ridiculous, but there has been some talk about how Elon Musk may have misused funds from Tesla for a personal project. I'm not going to make any claims about whether or not it is true. I just want to let you guys know that the DOJ is under a federal probe, or at least they have Elon Musk and Tesla under a federal probe over these transactions, and we're yet to see what will come from it. Just because there's a probe, it does not guarantee anything, so the best thing to do is to be open-minded nonetheless. Now, when it comes to the Cybertruck, it may be available with a diamond-like coating. I did talk about this in the past. We will see if that ends up being the case. One thing that worried me about this, though, is if you have a car that's way too durable, yes, it's very safe, it's awesome, but you have to be careful because it could cause more damage to other cars, right? You have to be careful with that. That could lead to like more insurance expenditures, or if a person has an insurance, their premium could start going up if they were to cause some kind of accidents. So, I mean, I'm just trying to talk about a potential risk of that. Imagine if you have a super durable diamond coated car that ends up scratching someone, the damage could be a little worse. In my opinion, it's just one possibility. It's something I've just considered, but for people out there who have are willing to take the risk, or they're not really too worried about that, because you could argue the same thing about any other pickup. But I'm just trying to make this claim as one possibility. If that's the case, it is what it is. But at the same time, there's great news about this because this would make the cars more durable. It's easy to protect them. They could be a lot more safer. They're a lot more powerful. It's still kind of like a trade off. It has its ups and downs. I'm still very satisfied with the fact that a lot of people love the truck, and it could be very big for the future. Now, the Cybertruck may have a next gen police vehicle. This would be very, very cool if this were to come out. It looks like something out of like Back to the Future or something. Very, very awesome looking. So I can't wait to see what the future holds for that. Other than that, I didn't really see any other like super crazy pieces of news for Tesla. I just want to talk about the share price now very, very briefly. We have a bearish looking structure on Tesla and a potential head and shoulders. If Tesla breaks below 260, so I think we're going to gap up tomorrow, kind of like pop for 266, then start selling off for 260, 257, and we may start filling this gap over the next few days to drop into the 250 area as downside seems more imminent thanks to the Fed. We have a bearish engulfing candle on SPY. Look for a little back test, a little gap up towards 440, then a sell off towards 436 as time goes on. The odds do favor more downside in my honest opinion. And I think that it's eventually going to hit 436 very soon. That's where some buyers may try to defend their positions, but no guarantees that they succeed. There's still more downside very likely. For Aapl, it may retest 176 and then start selling up towards 173.5 as we have this head and shoulders that has not been completed yet, and there is still some downside potential when you look at it very carefully. So that's what Aappl's looking like. If you look at the QQQ, we could be watching for 366 to be back tested one last time before this thing starts selling off towards 361. That's going to be the next support to watch for. It looks more bearish overall, so watch for maybe a gap up or a little pop before this thing starts selling off towards 361 over the next couple of days, or even as soon as tomorrow. And last but not least, for Nvda stock, it's looking more bearish. The daily is looking very bearish, just continuing to sell off more and more and more. In my opinion, it could get a back test of 425 or so, maybe a little higher, then start selling off. We have 416, 410, and then 403 as critical supports. And I think it's going to likely retest at least 416, come close to like 410. So it looks more bearish. Unfortunately, there's going to be more downside for the bulls, guys, downside for the markets, and the market's looking weaker as a result of the Fed's policy changes. Okay, so that's very important. Make sure you're prepared for this, even for all the Tesla investors out there. Be prepared because we have a potential head and shoulders on the 4-hour chart. You can see it quite clearly. This may lead to more downside for Tesla. We also have the big gap below. We had a bearish divergence right here that developed, and Tesla made a lower high as it's continuing to sell off. So we're making lower highs and lower lows. Tesla's looking weaker, despite some good news that came out. For the short term, the Fed is going to affect us. For the long term, the things Cathie Wood said that I mentioned are still very bullish. So long term is bright for Tesla. Short term, it may see some downside. I hope that's as clear as possible. Thank you for listening. Have a good one, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you, and peace out.